We're down here at Sun and Fun, and we're in Paradise City, the new and improved Paradise City. This place has been fun this year. Everybody is psyched up, and one of the guys that's as psyched up as they ever get is George Karamitis. We're looking at George's airplane here. Matter of fact, we're in George's airplane here. This is an HKS powered Quicksilver Sprint 2.
Right.
Do I have all that right?
Right.
And George is a regular pilot of this aircraft, but you know what? And he's been doing Quicksilvers for, I think you said 25 years.
A little over 25 years.
So 25 years of this. But before that, he drove big TWA jetliners around. And are you glad to be back in an open cockpit and getting a couple of bugs in the seat?
I've always had a liking for general aviation, period. And prior even to the Quicksilver experiences, I had aircraft, you know, small Piper Cubs and things. But my friend John Willett, he got me involved with the Quicksilver company, and I've been a fan ever since. You know, it's just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I said one time, if you can hang wallpaper and change the tire, you can build a Quicksilver.
That's a pretty good statement there.
Yeah. Have you built some of these airplanes?
Yes, I have. I have a couple of airplanes of these that I built. This one happened, I purchased from an estate. U-Fly had built this airplane, and I was kind of looking for a 4-stroke powered aircraft, and this happened to fit the bill, and the price was right, so I purchased it a little over a year ago, and I flew last year 112 hours on it.
Did you really? Wow,
yeah.
That's quite a bit.
Right.
Well, we got to go back and tell your story here a little bit, George, because we were in a press conference yesterday, and you told a story that I practically watched the other people in the room melt when George told this tale about his very, very earliest experiences at flying near Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where there's another great big show we all know.
Right.
But you told a tale about, I think you said you were 5 years old.
5 years old.
And you already had the aviation bug. Tell us about that experience a little bit, George. It's a great story.
I don't know how that happens. You know, how does a little kid, 5 years old, get the aviation bug? You know, it was 19...
Your parents didn't fly or anything,
no.
Especially in those days,
no,
right? Okay.
We were rather modest, poor to modest, you know, and
so you just somehow got the bug.
I got the bug, and at that time the war was over just recently, and a lot of the guys were coming back from World War II, and they were in the GI Bill, and a lot of the small towns in Wisconsin and other places had a little airport with the guys. Some of them learned to fly airplanes. Some of the guys went to college. My neighbor happened to learn to fly, and he knew I was just enthralled with that. And he gave me a manual. It was a 1943 Civil Aeronautics magazine, or not a magazine, it was the manual. And it showed the airplane drawings in there about when it would spin, it would twist up, you know.
Okay.
It would show the position of the pilot and how to move the control column and so forth. And I studied that. I put that on my lap, and I would sit on the commode in we had a closet with a light bulb and a string that us kids could reach and pull. And I put the plunger on the linoleum floor. That was my stick.
The bathroom plunger.
Right. And my
That
left
was your
hand,
joystick.
my left hand would go to where the toilet paper dispenser was, and that was sort of like a little indentation, you know, and that was like the throttle and the carb heat area. And 2 rolls of toilet paper were my rudder pedals. And I did that, oh geez, over a year. While I was doing that, my mother, I talked her into it, and those were the days when you could leave your house and never even lock it up the door.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So my mother and her sisters would drive to Oshkosh maybe once a month to go to a larger city to do some shopping.
Okay.
And I would tell Mom, I'd like to just get off at the airport. And it took a couple of trips, but she finally relented, and
She'd leave you there.
She'd
you
leave me
were
there.
still a little kid at the
yeah,
time,
I was
right?
6 years old.
6 years old. So she'd leave you at the airport. She'd go off shopping with her sister. And
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I'd sit on the fence, and Mom would she packed me a jelly sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and a bottle of Coke. Those days it was bottles.
Yeah,
little
glass bottles, right?
Or orange soda, something like that. And I sat on that fence for years, a couple years, every month, so to speak.
Wow.
Even in the dead of winter.
Whoa. Now, Wisconsin winter,
Yeah.
Florida boys might not know, but you were a dedicated young fella to sit there in a winter
Right, right.
outside and on a fence.
And one day, it was a warmer day, summer day. This gangly gentleman rolled this cub out, a 46 Cub. And you know, in 46, that was the year.
Right?
It was brand new.
It was a new Cub then,
Sure.
right?
And so he said, "Kid, you want to go for a ride?"
He saw you sitting there all this time.
Yeah.
Obviously had an interest. You dedicated yourself.
And so I hopped off the fence and I got in this airplane and we taxied out, and Oshkosh, Whitman Field was called Winnebago County Airport at that time. And we taxied out and we were ready to go, and I turned around and I said, "Mister, you didn't check the carb heat." And it was Steve Whitman.
And what does a kid know about this?
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
this was Steve Whitman,
Yeah.
for whom the field is now named there in
Yes,
Oshkosh.
yes. And I don't know what he thought, but he had quite a grin on his face. I turned around.
Did he do the carb heat?
He did the carb heat.
All right, so you were right.
All right. And off we went, and I couldn't reach the pedals, but I could do the stick, and I knew that you had to hold back pressure. And I knew that when you pulled the power off, that the nose dropped. I just knew that from
Just from reading
that book.
in a pilot's operating handbook of the day.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
You
And-
must have really studied that booklet to get all that information out of it. Without any other education, shoot, you were barely getting into school then.
Yes,
so.
I wasn't. Yeah, it was just basically kindergarten, first grade, second grade, something like that.
That's great.
But it went on like that, and I wasn't the best student in high school. I was just immature. And then the U.S. Navy straightened me out, and I ended up being an air crew member in the Connie as a radar operator for the early warning squadron.
So you didn't fly in the military,
No.
except in flying clubs and things like that.
I started a flying club with a couple other gentlemen in Argencia, Newfoundland. We had an air coupe and a T-34 the Navy gave
Okay.
us. In fact, on one of my cross-country flights in the T-34, my chart flew out of it. I had the canopy
That's right,
open,
the canopy's open up
and
and
the chart flew out. But and then after getting out of the Navy, I went to the what is now the University of Wisconsin at Oshkosh,
Okay.
and started a flying club there. We had a Cessna 140, and I built up my flight time to about 300 hours. And upon graduation, I went to Ohio State University and enrolled in the master's degree program, but I went primarily for the flight school and get some rating.
I see, okay. Again, building all your time and experience, which led you to the airlines. then, huh?
That was my goal.
Okay.
And in 1968, I got hired by TWA in January of '68, and it was just marvelous. I flew for 33 years,
Wow.
but I never forgot my roots. I've always had,
That's what drew you back to Quicksilver eventually.
yeah, and then eventually I got the Quicksilver, and I just can't believe the fun I'm having with this. This is an old man's airplane, sort of. See?
Yeah?
Easy in,
Because it's easy.
easy out.
Yeah, you can get in and out of it easy.
Easy. Things happen slowly. From 100 feet to touchdown, you can say the Lord's Prayer, you know. But I just love it, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can keep doing it.
Amen. Well, you've been doing it really well for a long time, because George and I go back a little bit too, and so we knew each other, but
Right.
recently I became aware of George's accomplishments in what I think is a very significant way. I've been flying quite a few years myself, but George got an award from the FAA. I believe they call it the Master Safety Pilot. Is
Wright
that it?
Brothers Master.
Wright Brothers Master Safety Pilot. 50 years, 50 years without an incident, accident, or citation.
Right.
There can't be very many people that qualify for that. I don't, and I'm sad to say, but congratulations on
Thank you.
50 years of safe, incident, citation-free flying, George. That's a pretty tremendous accomplishment.
Thank you, Dan. I mean, there are a lot of people that can get it, and but I'm humble about that because I had a lot of good instruction. I applied myself,
Clearly.
and I'm very conservative. I think I'd like to think when I fly. I also instruct yet too. I've kept.
You're still doing instruction, yeah?
Yes,
Do you use this aircraft for that?
I can't.
You
with
can't
the
do it.
insurance,
This is experimental.
But I
is it?
had when we had that agreement with the USUA and
Ah, yeah,
so
yeah,
forth.
yeah.
I had that exemption.
Okay, right.
I would give instruction in my other Quicksilver.
Oh, cool.
Right now I'm flying, instructing a little bit with Phil Lockwood's TechMan.
Ah, so you're using the Super Echo he's got,
Yeah.
Echo Super he's got there.
Yes,
Okay.
right.
Well, cool. Well, a man of many talents in aviation, self-taught in the bathroom of his folks' home with a plunger for a joystick. I just love that thing, and 2 toilet paper rolls for rudder pedals.
It worked.
And yeah, you flew and you had
Yeah, it
fun.
worked.
Did your mother ever wonder what you were doing in there?
No, but the lady all knew, and sometimes they would have to say, "Can you take a break for a while? Somebody has
Somebody
to
needs to
use the bathroom."
All right, I'll go to the back of the plane, make a sandwich, and then I'm getting back in the cockpit.
Yeah.
So, great story. So we're speaking today with George Karamitis. Congratulations on the Wright Brothers Master Safety Pilot Award. That's a tremendous accomplishment. But also for your dedication to flight in all ways, and specifically to open cockpit flying in an aircraft like this lovely little Quicksilver Sprint 2 with the HKS power on it.
Right.
I'm Dan Johnson. You can find more about George, find lots more about Quicksilver, pilot reports, videos, lots of stuff on bydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com. Thanks a lot for coming down here with us to Paradise City.